Hey guys, this is Jonathan Henderson with Pressure Washing Marketing Pros, and I have my good friend Alonzo Adams with me today. How you doing?
I'm doing excellent. Thank you for having me too. I'm excited for this power hour, we should call it.
Yep, the Power Hour. And look, I'm excited to have you on. I know you'll have a wealth of knowledge for everybody on today's podcast, whether you're watching on YouTube or you're listening. So for me to introduce Alonzo, there's a lot of things that this man has done, right? But just to try to do it in as short as possible span, because I want you guys to really get a lot of the knowledge that he has. He runs Busy Bee Cleaning, right? Seven-figure plus residential and commercial cleaning company in Pennsylvania. And he's also a business coach, right? As you guys see in his background, Alonzo Adams Coaching, and he's also a coach in the program Conquer, which a lot of you guys may be familiar with because you guys are in the exterior cleaning industry. So as you know, Alonzo, I know that's a list of accolades, but I know those are the main things when it comes to you, because you also have real estate investments that you do as well, correct?
Big time, big time. I'm big into investing properties. Right now, we got a big job I've never done before. We're doing a big renovation job. So I'm even getting into renovations, not flips. I don't like to do the flip things because majority of those things you don't make money off of them, and everybody wants to put their Instagram, their highlights like, yeah, look at how much I made, but they don't really tell you how much time was invested and how much money they really lost. So I'm not a flipper though.
All good. So we're going to talk about that too, guys, because I know some of you all want to run your home service business or run your business, but also use the profits that you get from that business over into another vehicle, which Alonzo has obviously done. And, he's looking clean too. I'm like, man, I need to look clean like that in the suit.
Well, listen, it's how you show up. The first thing that people see first is your exterior before they even get introduced to your interior. So
Mhm.
your exterior, just like in pressure washing, right? You got to
Mhm.
make sure that is prime time, shined up. It looks the part. So I'm always dressed for the occasion.
Hey man, you definitely are. You definitely are. So I want to get right into it, Alonzo. So, like I said, you run a multiple, seven-figure business when it comes to Busy Bee Clean, residential and commercial. Can you share just what got you started in business, right? How you started Busy Bee Cleaning and how you just became a recognized leader in that particular service industry?
Natural born entrepreneur. That's what I was. Ever since I was a kid, my first business, 7 years old, I had the snack wagon. Snack wagon was this red wagon that I was given actually for Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
So my mother gave me this for Christmas, and I was like, "Are you kidding me? Out of all things, you're going to give me a red wagon?" But actually, she wanted me to utilize it and for my sister.
Mm-hmm.
So with something behind that purchase or that gift, I should say.
Mm-hmm.
So that wagon, I looked at it, I thought about it, I had to repurpose the wagon. And I had this great ideas of how I was actually going to take this wagon and make it mobile. Because everybody around me, they were doing like lemonade stands, they were selling things out of their homes, but they were basically stationary. So I decided I wanted to take this wagon and travel from neighborhoods to neighborhoods and really expand my whole offerings throughout those different locations. So that's what I did. I had the snack wagon. I sold sodas, pretzels, chips, cookies, you name it. The snack wagon, it was a hit. My next business venture, I went into music as a music producer,
Mm-hmm.
and I was actually producing the songs. I was going out recruiting the acts. I was booking us at clubs. It was a lot of work, a lot of work,
Mm-hmm.
and it's expensive because when you have like studio time can be anywhere from $200 an hour, and I'm talking back then. This is like '90s. I'm talking. Nowadays, you could be about $1,000 an hour just to be into a studio.
Mm-hmm.
So I was doing that career, running that business, but I also had a job, a full time job. The full time job was in the cleaning business. I
Mm-hmm.
wasn't like unfamiliar with the cleaning business because I got into the cleaning industry when I was 13,
Mm-hmm.
and that was in commercial cleaning. I got into this whole cleaning business because I knew it, I could do it fast, and I could make a good hustle off of
Mm-hmm.
it. The music career wasn't going in the direction which you hoped. It's a
Mm-hmm.
dream, it's a big dream. There's
Mm-hmm.
something I think the estimates would probably be like one out of every 50 million, right? You make
Mm-hmm.
it, you know. And I was looking at that point of how can I keep this sustained? because I was a teen dad. My son was born when I was 19, and we had to figure out how we're going to, feed this kid, how you're going to put Pampers on this kid, all that good stuff. Studio time was just too expensive. But this cleaning business introduced me to something that I wasn't thinking of. It was house cleaning. House cleaning. And I looked at that business that they purchased, because this was commercial that they had. Commercial. That's all they knew was commercial. But they found this residential business to buy because they said this is going to be the next big thing. I'm like, really? Cleaning houses? My grandmother cleaned houses. My mom cleaned houses. They didn't make too much money. Are you serious? My boss was Dave. I said, Dave, I don't know about this, man. He's like, no, because I'm going to buy this business. They buy this business, and they actually, at that time, they brought in my son's mother, and she was helping them, and she was working with them, and they just really couldn't get the business going. They ended up cutting her hours, they ended up cutting her days, and it was tanking. It was actually hurting the commercial business. And I was like, I think he's right. I think this residential thing can really be so much more. Stepped in on it. I decided to set her up because she wasn't getting hours. I set her up. And when I set her up, she got out on her own, and we started building that residential business. That residential business started growing, picked up more commercial accounts, started growing the commercial end. Before you knew it, I said, hey, Dave, I got to give you, I gave him a 30-day notice. So I gave him a 30-day notice, and then I moved on into my own business and never looked back.
Never look back. So how does so I forgot to mention at the beginning of the video too, guys, like Alonzo's, strong points when it comes to entrepreneurship, right? Team building, culture, systems and processes, all of that, which we will get to in this, in this podcast as well. So what does Busy Bee Cleaning look like right now currently?
Oh, it's fantastic. We're in the best shape that we've ever been as a business. And the reason why I'm going to say this, sometimes you look at your differentiator. Makes you different than the next business. I ask my clients that because I do group coaching, and I have a group, and I'm asking them, and they never give good answers. Never give good answers. And the number one answer is your people. It's really your people. We learn how to really dial into our people, our culture, our training, and really putting together a place where people really excel. So that changed the way we were maybe 10 years ago, 20 years ago. So right now, we're on fire. We got some really great people on board that buys into the culture. And today we're going to talk a lot about that culture, the difference maker, in the people, because anybody that's out there, you're going to be, let's say, the boss of your company. I like to say the CEO. I am the CEO, okay? And the CEO has to do three things really well. He has three things. You're going to have to look at your culture, you're going to have to look at your people, and you're going to have to really be dialed into your numbers. That's your main focus. And if you can get those things right, you're going to have a successful business. For us, 31 years. That's how long I've been in business with Busy Bee Cleaning Company.
31 years, guys. Did you hear that? 31 years. So that's 1992.
1992. Got it.
Me too. So that's older than me.
I started when I was 22, though.
Yeah, no. Most definitely. So that's why I said that. Well, that's why you're at where you're at right now, man. Just doing great, phenomenal things. That's why, that's a testament, because we're going to be talking about that. Most businesses fail within what, like 5 years, correct? Majority of businesses, 80%. So the fact that you've been in business longer than I've been alive already tells me, man, that you know what you're doing. You know what I mean?
Stay in power. It's stay in power, and understanding, the longevity. There's things that will keep you in the game, and there's things that will take you out of the game.
Which I want to go ahead and get to, because obviously you've been running a business for 31 years. You've seen it all. So the first thing I want to ask you, what were the key challenges you faced while scaling your cleaning businesses when you first started, and how did you overcome them? You can name a couple of them, or like the main ones.
The first thing that comes into my mind was really getting the payment situation under control, because even when I go to train people, they don't have simple systems of how they receive payment, how they track payment. And it's unfortunate that's when they run into money problems, because they're not doing a good job of just the basics of having a system in place just for payments. The next thing to help us scale was just training. training and our recruiting system.
Mm-hmm.
Recruiting system is huge because you have to understand it's an ongoing process. What I find is when I'm working with companies is that they do it sometimes, they turn it off, they turn it on. It's something that has to always be on. You
Mm-hmm.
know, when you can figure that out, that's bringing in fresh talent, fresh ideas. And you may have people again that's on the team. They may be looking for other opportunities or they may be on their way out. But if you're doing, doing talent recruiting, and I'm going to say talent because I just don't want to be locked in on people or employees. You need to be seeking out talented people. That's what's going to help you scale your business.
Okay, perfect. So I have two questions on that because most business owners, we ask these questions. Number one, what do you mean by having ongoing recruitment? I probably have an idea of that, but can you tell us what that looks like? And then number two, how do you find those A players that we're always looking for? So when you say recruiting is an ongoing process, is that just, hey, I need to be putting on Indeed posts every single month? Or is that like, hey, everywhere that I'm going, I'm networking here? Like, what does that process look like?
You need recruiting strategies because the one thing is that maybe you only have Indeed.
Mm-hmm.
That is limited. Do not limit yourself. I'm all about options. Options. I'm your option dude. I
Mm-hmm.
like to create options for myself. And if one thing's not working, you can lean in on your next recruiting strategy. So maybe you do say, so let's say this, for example, you may use Indeed. Do you have any other ways that you actually recruit? Do you do you recruit through your customer base? Do you recruit through your current employees? Do you
Mm-hmm.
recruit through, let's say, churches, schools? Are you affiliated with any type of other services or programs that you can actually go through to recruit from? So you need to build a different strategies to where you could actually pull people from. You just don't want to be isolated or be a one trick pony in your recruiting. That's why sometimes people get stuck. They just like, well, Indeed's not working. Okay, that's fine. That's business. It's not working. What is your next option?
Mm-hmm.
What is your next option? That's what it always comes down.
Hey, so that's no, that's definitely some gold nuggets right there. So so instead of me saying, because everybody has different businesses that they run and everybody has different personalities. So I guess the biggest thing I would say what are the key things that you look for when you're hiring, for A players, right? What are some key qualities or personality types that you're looking for whenever you're recruiting A players? Because you've done this for 31 years, so there's definitely things that like within the first 2 minutes, like this person's not going to work out.
Here's the thing about A players, right? A players are looking to be on an A company.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You have to be in position to even for those people to even think about you or consider you. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So if your organization is a C organization and maybe your culture is a C, that's not a place for an A player.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to understand that. That's why it's important to build that type of culture, that type of company, and be that type of entrepreneur, which is the business owner. So for me, when I went to go work for Dave at that company, the cleaning company, which was called Paramount,
Mm-hmm.
that company again had to understand I'm an A player.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm going to come into your company, is this an A organization?
Mm-hmm.
And it's all about first impressions, right? That's what we're talking about. The clothes, the look, and all that. It's impression, so the first impression is huge. You walk in there, is this an office? Are we in, let's say, a storage unit? Are we
Mm-hmm.
meeting at McDonald's or Starbucks? What is this that you would make me feel I want to leave my current situation? Because A players, they already got a job.
Mm-hmm.
They're already working somewhere. They're not on Indeed. Okay. So that's why you have to understand is that A player is basically saying, why would I give up my current situation to come work for you in your company? And what's impressionable about you? So that's a big thing right there is getting A players. You may not be in a position to get A players. But let's go back to what you said. So
Mm-hmm.
what is an A player? An A player, one, he doesn't want to be around B or C players. He
Mm-hmm.
wants to be with other A players. Okay. When he comes through, he has confidence. Okay. He has confidence. And his resume is going to be strong. He's going to show you that he actually is a person that is someone that you will say he's committed. He's committed. Okay. Look at his job history. Look at what he's done. You know, did he move up in a job? I'm not interested in someone that's just been consistently in the same position.
Mm-hmm.
Did you move up to supervisor? Did you move up to a manager? That's a person with drive. That's a person that's ambitious. And guess what? Some business owners are scared of people like that. They're
Mm-hmm.
scared of those guys. And you know what? Those people sometimes have more ambition than the owner. So if they got more ambition, they got more drive and more determination, they're not going to last with you. They're going to see right through you. So
Mm-hmm.
in order to get the A player, be the A business.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? That's what it comes down. Get your culture in line, get your whole entire presentation of onboarding in place. Those things are crucial. And people get caught up in some of the things that I would say are not the high priorities. The high priorities is making sure how you're going to actually attract the A player. You got to have the right bait.
Mm-hmm. I like what you said there, Alonzo, where you said that the A players, because I even just in my measly compared to you, like 4 to 5 years in business, I've learned that myself is that some of the best people I've had on my team were people that actually reached out to me because they may have heard about us through the grapevine, or they may have said like, hey, we took a look at your website, or we've taken a look at your YouTube, and like we see where you're going with this thing, right? And so for me, I looked at it and I said, kind of turned on a light bulb where I looked at it and I said, you know what? If I can attract those A players, I may have to develop people that may be A players to where they have the mentality, they have the wherewithal, and they're ambitious. They just may not have the skills, and maybe I can provide those skills for them and nurture them into being that, you know. But you hit it on the head. I hear a lot of our clients say, man, it's just hard hiring. I can't get A players. I'm like, dude, you got to steal A players. You can't. You're not
Oh, yeah.
gonna just hire. There's a reason why. You know what I mean?
And
So I.
they're an investment. You know,
Mhm.
they're an investment because the one thing is this is that they are going to demand a higher compensation,
Mhm.
maybe higher than what you're willing to pay. But you have to look at it as an investment and say, if this person can increase my business by 20% or 30%,
Mhm.
the investment is small. So
Mhm.
you're going to have to put out that amount. But the best thing is to do your research. See what is the going rate in the area for that position.
Mhm.
Okay. If you see, let's give example, maybe it's $20 an hour, maybe it's 25 or it's $30 an hour. You need to be more than that.
Mhm.
You need to be more than that. You need to offer, incentives. You need to have better benefit packages in place
Mhm.
just for that.
Mhm.
Because you're trying to attract that guy. Let's think about sports, right? People
Mhm.
want to get somebody like Messi or some of these guys. Like, oh, want to come over. We want these guys on our team. Man, you gotta wine and dine these guys, man. You know, and you got to put the right package together that they're going to sign on, and they're going to come there and they're going to give you, 100%.
Mhm.
So I think there's more to it than just saying I want an A player first. Be the A organization, then go after the A player.
No, most definitely. So I wanted to ask you a question because like I said before we did this, I did a lot of research on just yourself, and I heard a story about in your business where you had majority of your employees quit at one point, and then that actually, catapulted you in knowing how to create culture, knowing what to look for and how to be a better leader. Because I want to segue into that as well, because I hear you talk about culture and leadership. Can you tell us about that moment where your team had quit and the kind of leader you were at that moment, and then what you did to change, so to get your business where it's at now, to where you have a great team and you have a great culture? Can you tell us about that moment though, where majority of the people on your team had quit?
The culture is a reflection of the leader. It's the leader that has to basically, cultivate the culture. And
Mm-hmm.
they have to maintain the culture as well. So what happened to me is that I was young, as a
Mm-hmm.
young business owner, driven, very driven, and very ambitious and hard driven type of personality. And being that kind of entrepreneur, you have to understand that everybody does things different than the way you do it. They see things, different perspectives.
Mm-hmm.
And I like structure. I like things happening quick. I'm very decisive.
Mm-hmm.
And there was this moment where, I let my emotions get the best of me. And we have to be careful as the business owners and CEOs, is everything's about managing your emotions. Okay. And we have to understand that maybe there's a moment you may have to step back for a moment before you act, before you act. And what I was noticing that particular morning is there was people that were very unfocused. We weren't getting things, we weren't getting out to our day as quick as we needed to.
Mm-hmm.
And this was a moment I just really lost my cool on people, really lost it. And that was a point where I scared some people. I scared them, and it was people had to think about, wow, he just lost his cool like that. And maybe it's another situation where he loses his cool. And that's just not the way to explode on people, to
Mm-hmm.
explode, because at that moment I felt things should have been done a certain way, but there's a way you go about it.
Mm-hmm.
And the way I went about it was completely wrong. It was completely wrong. And you know what? The people's like, well, we don't have to work at a place where people feel they have to be afraid and they're walking on eggshells. And I was like, man, did I create that? I mean, my intensity was that high. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it was. It was that high that it affected people. And when I look back, and it's like you gotta be a better leader, man. It's cool that you're the leader, that you're driven, you're ambitious, and you're making things happen. You're hitting the numbers, and you're driving, you're pushing people. But the one thing is that you have to connect with people, and you have to be a leader that people that you can relate to people, and you can get them to understand what you want them to do,
Mm-hmm.
and you can accomplish things together, but not in that way, not by just losing your cool. And that was something where people, they walked out. And I had at that point, it was only about two people left that morning. And so I was like, well, how are we going to get this day done? And I mean, we had so many jobs, so many jobs. And man, we were already at that point. We were climbing to like 1.7 million or something. And you can imagine how big that day was. And
Yeah.
only two people. And my manager came over. It's like, what are we going to do? I was like, we ain't worried about those people. But that was initial reaction. It was
Mm-hmm.
initial reaction. But at that point, it's like you're gonna have to get this together. So we talked to people. We talked about the incident. We made the apologies that needed to be made. And at that point, that opened up the cultures of being transparent.
Mm-hmm.
Why was that reaction? It wasn't the right reaction. And then how we treat people, you know? And so that was a big turning point for me. It's not that I felt it's like I mistreated my people, but it was not a pretty moment. That wasn't one of my highlight reels. It was just a point where it was a display of anger,
Mm-hmm.
you know. And it's I don't know if you're so young. There used to be a coach named Bobby Knight, where Bobby Knight was the coach.
Indiana Hoosiers, right?
Yeah, yeah. And
Yeah.
he would he'd slam things and do that. So it was kind of a moment where I slammed down I would say the clipboard.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I look back at that and it's like, you learn. And I had some people that looked at it and said, okay, you made a mistake. We're coming back. We're coming back. People came back, and this happened for probably took us about 2 to 3 days to get back, get us all back together, have the meetings, have the right conversations, and realign and get everything back in that place where we were at before that incident happened.
Mm-hmm.
You
And so
know,
and so that built and so you said transparency just now, and so thank you for sharing that story. So how did you look at things and change? Because I know a lot of guys right now. I even talked to a client where I overheard him speaking to one of his team members, and he's just like, "You just got to do what I say." Right. And I'm just like, that's probably not the right way to go about that. You know what I mean? Just because you're the boss on that sense. So what are some things that you looked at where you said, okay, this is what I have to change going forward in terms of like my culture and the things that you implemented? Like, are there any culture kind of building things that you could recommend to guys that they could have for their team where they're like, man, our culture may be lacking in that sense? And it doesn't have to be, everybody has a different culture because that's dictated upon who the leader is, right?
right.
But what are some
Exactly.
things that you're like, okay, these things had helped me build my culture in my business?
The one thing is when I always look at culture, and I think it's so huge, is really dialing into the values.
Mhm.
What first, if you're going to be the CEO, the leader of your company, think about your personal values first. Dial that in. So there was things that I had to dial in on my personal values, and then I started to write the company values. Okay. And those values were going to be so key about how we were going to hire people. They were going to be the key values of how we're going to promote people, and they would be key values of how we would let people go. Okay. And these values have, there are guiding principles. So whenever you have your values, you put those in places for code of conduct. So in that case, I was violating a code of conduct. And if you think about your values, you will understand how to really bring in the right people. Because sometimes we go through assessment tests, we're thinking, wow, how did that person perform on an assessment test? Well, maybe they perform well, but they're not a culture fit. Okay. So for us, we look at those values and find people that match those values. We share those same values in common. And it's not easy for people to identify what they are. For us, we felt it was going to be 4 to 5 values. One of my favorite ones is continuous improvement. Okay, so that's me. That's me.
One of mine too. That's one of
Yeah,
mine as
because
well.
right, that's a great thing. With you being an entrepreneur, we're looking for ways, to one up ourselves, to 10x ourselves, to improve and better ourselves. That's where it starts with first. Okay, and then we bring that into the company and the business. We want other people like that because they're looking to grow, improve. They're not looking to stay in one place, because you're going to have people that's content and they're not growing, man. And if they're not growing, then you're dying. So that continuous improvement is one of my favorites, huge. The other one is trust. Trust. Because trust is important, because that binds us. You know what I'm saying? And it's not about just looking and say, oh, I believe what you say. You know what? I believe what you say, and I believe what you do, because I'm watching your actions. I'm watching if I can trust you with something. And when I mean trust you with something, if I give you a job of high responsibilities, I want to depend on you. I want to know you can come through. I want to know you're going to show up the best version of yourself. So those things are key for me, is identifying, those personal core values, and then creating the values that's going to be the guiding principles, the governing of your business. Because how many times have you have someone, you're like, I don't know if I should fire that guy. I don't really know what to do. And you're asking friends, you're asking everybody. It's okay. What is it that your values say? What does your values say? Let your values guide you. Whenever I have to make decisions, that's important decisions about the business, even keeping a customer, right? We had a customer that decided they want to lash out on one of the teams. And they went crazy, and they verbally assaulted one of our staff members. And so what I did is I picked up the phone. I did. Gave a call to the customer, how you doing today? Oh, I'm doing fine. So they didn't really even acknowledge what was going on. So we asked a few questions. You could see that the person was highly upset, highly upset. And so at that point, we knew that it was time for us to leave. Say, hey, listen, we're going to pack up everything right now, and our team is going to leave. You don't have to pay for the work that was done, but we're leaving, and we won't return again. Because the one thing is how one of ours is respect. That's another one of our values. It's respect. So that customer is fired off of that value of respect. Okay. So that's why you always, when you're thinking about what to do in that customer situation, yeah, they were paying good, man, paying good money. And you're looking at it's like, man, we don't want to lose a customer, but you're not going to treat our people like that. So that customer is gone based off of the values of respect.
And it seems like a lot of the big things that you're talking about right now are just self, right? So to where
Yes,
you're not gonna get an A player until you work on yourself, right? To where you can
that's right.
establish that. You have to establish your own self value so that you're able to go ahead and communicate that to your team as well. So I really like that. So right now, for your business, as you know, you have a lot of employees, and one of the biggest things when it comes to the exterior cleaning industry and just businesses in general are going to be just systems and processes. So what systems and processes were pivotal in scaling your businesses, and how can exterior cleaning businesses or even home service businesses in general implement similar systems?
All right. So
Loaded question, I'm sorry.
if you look at it, the ones I mentioned, one was really getting down that training system. That training system will free you up. The training system's huge if it's documented. So if you can document, your processes in that system, because all processes is a part of the system. Okay, so you got to get your processes documented to free you up. And
Mm-hmm.
it's really, there's a book out called, buying time. That's what you're doing. You're buying time to free you up to work on high level activities, things that move the business forward. And the problem is that you're so much in the owner operator mentality. You're doing so much. You're probably with what, 5 hats, 4 hats, maybe sometimes 10 hats. But you got to find a way to replace yourself in those roles. And guys get so stuck in it because they're so much in the owner operator mentality. They just cannot get to a place where they can start to create videos. Hey, let me replicate. I need to replicate what I do. Okay, how do you do it? You need the documentation. You need videos. And then they think, well, how am I going to get a videographer? Use this. That's all you got to do. Get a quick videos, 30-second videos where you're capturing yourself doing some of those things that someone else could watch and they can perform that same task. So the biggest thing is understanding is to free you up. The other thing with these systems and processes is that you hire somebody, right? You're at the mercy of that person if they have it all up here. You're like, I can't let her go, or I can't let him go. He knows how to do this. I don't know how to do that program. I don't know how that works. Why? Because it's not documented. So you can't let the person go. They have a bad attitude. They're bad for the culture, and you have to stay there. You're staying there. You got that person staying on board, and you're actually a hostage in your own company. I've seen this many times. You're a hostage in your own company because if you let that person go, it's going to be problems for you in the company. So that's why it's so important to think about getting the systems in place and the right ones. But think of first the ones that's going to get you off the truck. You've got to find a way to get off the truck to be able to do the work to work on the business. Other than that, it's a vicious cycle. You will stay on the truck for 2 years, 3 years, and 4 years. The other thing is really dialing in, simple things about payment collection. That's another thing where the profit margins become a problem, right? You're like, hey, I can't hire anybody. We don't make enough money. The problem is you're not keeping your eyes on how the payments are coming in. I have coached people that have, 10,000, 20,000 out on accounts receivable. It doesn't make any sense. I have seen people hundreds of thousand accounts receivable, but there's no system in place, no process to how they collect payments. There's no process in place how they process payments. Simple things like just processing payments. Make it easy on yourself. Go buy credit cards. I tell my people that. Use credit cards. Oh, no, that's a big expense. I'd have to pay 3%, 3.5%. They go on and on about the percentages, and they're not realizing is that, listen, it's freeing you up to not have to think about it, and it's happening because you have $20,000 out on the streets that you haven't collected on, and you're not even getting any interest on that money.
Yeah.
So
The interest is the
simple
big part.
Yes, simple things just like payment processing. The other things that I think about is when you're looking at your systems there, you need to think of a way also to how you're onboarding people. How are you bringing people into the company, right? Because remember, we said you're responsible who let that person into the culture, a part of like your family, right? Would you let somebody in your home that you knew that is, their drama? You're not going to let them stay in your home. So that person is just full of a bunch of drama and chaos. I'm not going to let them ever around my family. But people let them in their company, right? And then they have onboard terrorists right inside the company. I remember when I was getting into real estate. And when I was getting into real estate, I was really cautious about getting into real estate. And the reason why I was cautious is because my mother actually had a property before. And this property wasn't in the greatest area. So she'd have to go collect rent sometimes with her piece in her purse. And for people that don't know what a piece is, she had her handgun, because she just didn't know if she had to pull it out to collect her rent or to get her rent. And I was like, man, I don't know about if I want to be dealing with carrying my gun around collecting rent or not. But then I heard a guy say something that was interesting. When people have these problem tenants and bad tenants, and they're complaining about how tough it is, with renting to people, you're responsible for giving them the keys. You're the one that gave them the keys. Okay. And that's why you got to always keep in mind, you onboard people, look for the flags. Look for the flags right there.
Mhm.
And take them. And when you bring people in, and sometimes even if you don't bring them on the interview process, let them disqualify themselves. Tell them exactly what the culture's about.
Mhm.
Tell them what the expectations are, and let them know the code of conduct. And they can say, you know what, that's not for me.
Mhm.
I was just looking for a job. I wasn't looking to be a part of a mission. And if you don't give people that's a part of the mission, then they're just going to show up for a paycheck, never showing up for the mission.
Mhm. I really like what you just said there. So one question I do want to ask, because you just talked about it. Where do you think that guys can transition from being owner operator to that CEO role, right? Like where do you think that guys should start implementing those systems and processes in their business? And what's the biggest thing that biggest advice you would give guys, even though you just eloquently, just said how guys should go about systems and processes. But what do you think? Because I know guys will probably listen to this and be like, well, where do I start? How do I start? Right. And so where do you think guys should really just say, hey, because sometimes I tell people, like, just start documenting from the very beginning. You know what I mean? But what would you say to guys that are trying to go from the owner operator to CEO role? They've been doing this for 3 to 4 years. They're doing about 350,000 a year, right? Revenue wise. And they're just like, look, I'm capped out. This is really all I can do until I change something. Where do you think that people can go from owner operator to CEO?
Okay, so with me, when I started out, again, I was doing the work. I was out cleaning.
Mm-hmm.
And you start to audit your time. You got to audit the time. You start to look at it and say, okay, man, it's out here for 10 hours, 12 hours, 14 hours. And if you're doing that, other things are being neglected. You just cannot get to these other things. You're like, I need to get to marketing. I got estimates I got to get out to, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you're starting to look at your time and you just don't have time. So
Mm-hmm.
you got to look at what is it that's sucking up your time. You got to get clear on it. Take a moment to think about it, saying, "Man, this is a time suck. What is keeping me from working on those things, working on the business versus working in the business?" And when you start to look at that time suck, it's again replacing yourself in the actual cleaning. You cannot be out there doing the cleaning, but you remain the person doing the cleaning, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because you don't have no way of how to train this person and get this person up and ready to contribute. Maybe, let's say, in 3 days, if you had a training system in place, was documented, you could get a guy maybe up and ready to go in 3 days. But because you don't, it takes 5 days, takes 10 days, because you don't have that system in place just to replace yourself in doing that actual work. The other thing that makes it so complicated is if you have a complicated business model where you do so many different things, right? So
Mm-hmm.
many different things that require a lot of time, that is so hard to get training in place. Oh, I can't, I got to do it. That's the first thing I hear from guys. Oh, no one else can do it. Only I can do it. There's the problem right there. Only you can do it. No one else can do it. No, I'm the only one that can do it. Mentality. A lot of these things is when we're saying about ourselves. It's the mentality, man.
Mm-hmm.
Your mindset. This is where you have to change that owner operator, and you got to start thinking like a CEO. A CEO, again, remember we said the three things. You got to get back to it, and this again, you got to get back to people, training, development, onboarding. You got to get to the culture. The culture is creating the right environment, okay? Having the right values in place. And then you got to say, I got to get back to the numbers. I got to be focused on increasing profits and profits, because can you market? You're in a marketing.
Mm-hmm.
Guys will tell you, oh, I don't have the money for that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if you don't have the money to market and do that, how are you going to have more sales?
Yeah.
I don't get it. People are, again, I'm just not getting enough leads. Okay, how much are you spending on marketing? And you go and you look at the numbers, and these guys are 3%, 3% going to marketing. Dude, you're not going to get too much. Well, 5%. Well, good luck with that. Let's see what you're going to do.
Mm-hmm.
And then even you think about the same thing. Let's think about the marketing thing and create a marketing system, right? A marketing system where this is happening automatically through automation.
Mm-hmm.
Guys start to think at the moment when they're in desperation. Oh, I need to do something.
Yeah.
Reactive marketing. It's not
Oh.
planned out. It's not strategized, and then they want certain results. You're not going to get the results you were looking for because now you're desperate. It's like a dude going out for a date, and he's so desperate that he goes and he picks something that he shouldn't have picked, and he gets himself into a situation with a girl that he didn't want to sleep with.
Mm-hmm. No, Alonzo, you're spitting that fire right now, man, when it comes to reactive marketing. Because a lot of what you said too, we see where guys will come to us and I'll ask them certain questions, because that's the one thing in my business I have not been able to go ahead and systemize yet, is just the sales, right? Everything else is good to go, but just sales. But when I look at people, I'll ask them, I'll say like, what are you doing in your business right now? What are you currently doing in your marketing? And they'll say, well, nothing right now. And I just know red flag kind of, right? Because I know this guy is going to be, he's going to want us to do everything when it comes to his marketing, right? Or their marketing, just, to go ahead and do that. So you're right. Reactive marketing. And it comes to my next question that I want to ask you, which is a two-fold question, but I'll ask it in two parts though. So first off, you've been in business for 31 years. And so what a lot of guys will say, that it's been a down year this year, right? They'll be like, oh, 2024, which it doesn't, some businesses, it's not a down year, it's an up year for them, right? But you've probably heard from a lot of people, because you do a lot of coaching. They're like, oh, 2024, it's been more difficult than it has in the last 4 to 5 years, right? So people are thinking of this impending, or not pandemic, because that pandemic, but financial crisis, right? And things that are similar to the pandemic, you know what I mean? Or where it can, drastically change your business. So how were you able to navigate? Because you've been in business for 31 years. How have you been able to navigate, just financial crises and just times when the economy wasn't as best as it is, right? How did your company go ahead and navigate that? And what did you say to your team members, or what did you say to yourself to keep you going through, throughout that process or throughout that time?
Jonathan, when you look at how you go through these different ups and downs in businesses, you get those challenges that you weren't expecting. But the one key thing is it's going to come down to a good leader that can navigate. A leader that has good resiliency. He's very very bold and decisive, because that's what it's going to require, to be very bold and decisive. And what I mean by that is because, one, you're going to have a plan. You should have a plan. Most don't have a plan. So if you don't have a plan, then you plan to fail, right? So that's why a lot fail, because they didn't have a plan. But then if you have a plan, you got to be decisive and you got to be bold about the plan. So let's think about it. When we have been through those different crises, 9/11, been through the housing crisis, we have been through the tech bubble, we've seen all those things. And I'm going to be honest with you. That's when we've done some of our best work, during those periods. And the reason why is because, one, being able to pivot when we had to, but understanding, trusting the process. The process is because there's a plan in place. We don't deviate from the plan unless we don't believe in the plan, but we trust the plan, okay? And that's the same thing as where I see people get panicky. You get panicky. When you get panicky, that's when you start again. You start shooting in the dark. You start again letting your emotions run wild, and you start making poor decisions. So what I always say, have a plan in place and be prepared. Be prepared when there's opportunity that may come, because you may not be ready. Because listen, 2008 for me was an opportunity. Okay. I'm looking at this right now, and this is what's happening here with our cleaning business. We're thriving right now. We're thriving. Numbers are up. Numbers were up last year. Our numbers, we did again, high numbers through all those challenging times. But the key comes down to the leader, again, that keeps everyone focused, even like through COVID, where other people are panicking, people are again getting worried, they're getting concerned. You got to help navigate and steer the ship. The whole thing of you have to have yourself good self-awareness. That's a part of emotional intelligence. So when I teach, and I've spoken on emotional intelligence, one of the key things that separates all leaders is the self-awareness, being aware of yourself in the moment, okay? And you have to have self-control, and you have to regulate those emotions. So you may feel there's a concern, but again, you still have to act with confidence, and those businesses that have a plan in place, they trust the process, they're always going to do better. They're always going to do better. The other people are scrambling and they're listening to the news. They're watching YouTubes. They're hearing podcasts, and you're watching again the news, and you start becoming panicked. But the funny thing is, I drive by the malls that are just really top notch malls, and I see how busy they are during all these times. And I'm like, my goodness, man, Louis Vuitton is so busy.
Yeah.
Gucci store's got a line out the door, and Rolls Royce and Mercedes are having record-breaking years. How is that possible? You may just be fishing in the wrong pond. And sometimes people don't change their strategy when you have to. So if you're doing something, or you're fishing, like we said, in a pond, you're not catching the fish, what you're looking to catch, you got to go to another pond, man. But you got to be decisive. That's one of the things, like when you go back, you look over history, some of those emperors and generals that were the best, they were the best because they were decisive. I see people now, they want to, should I ask Chat GPT? Are you serious? Are you serious? And that's why you have to be bold, man, through these, and make the right calls. But I think, again, when you look at the challenges what people are facing, especially if we want to talk about, pressure washers, I'm coaching. I start to ask this question because I want to see how hungry they are. I want to see, is this guy really got it? Is he got the it factor? Because I coach some guys that are killers, man, killers. And I coach some guys that they're Winnie the Poohs. Winnie the Poohs all day. They're not killers. I love killers and assassins because they're going to find a way, and they're going to dig, and they're going to do whatever is necessary to make sure, one, they put food on the table, their employees got work the next day, and they're going to have that payroll taken care of. I just don't understand how someone can go and talk to the people and say, I don't have enough work for you. Because their people should be looking and saying, what are you doing? What are you doing that you couldn't get the work for us? And I've had guys where I've told them, I said, are you knocking on doors? I don't do that. What do you mean you don't do that? No, I don't know how to do that. You don't know how to do that? Well, let me tell you something. I was doing that when I was in Cub Scouts. I was knocking on doors. And you, as a grown man, is scared to knock on the door, scared for somebody to close the door in your face. You listen, man. I'm looking for guys that are hungry. They got a vision. When you got a vision, that's when you're going to do what's necessary to keep your company out of certain situations. I'm saying, are you putting up yard signs? Well, sometimes, and there's guys riding around with yard signs in the truck with them. There's guys that have ordered postcards. They haven't got to the post office yet. Oh, I'm going to get there. Come on, man. Where's the one thing is that I love to see about people that are intentional. If you're not intentional, man, don't come to me telling me you did everything. I always ask them, because my clients like to tell me everything they're doing impress me. I'm doing this. I'm out there doing this. I'm doing this. Okay, what are you not doing? What are you not doing? Okay, then they start naming what they're not doing. I was like, okay, I don't need to tell you anything. You know what you're not doing. So that to me is key to find those type of entrepreneurs. So that's why I cannot listen to all podcasts and listen to all the news where people are like, man, the struggle is real out there, man. It's just so hard. I need to listen to the guy that's killing it, that's on fire. What is he doing? How's he firing up his people? How is he getting to work? How is he making things happen day in and day out and keeping the momentum? Because that's what you need right now is momentum, because you got negative momentum.
Man, Alonzo, you just motivated me during that, man. You were all one on this one just now. And I'm glad you said that, because it's something that I see a lot of the times when guys will talk to us. As you know, we do marketing, right? And so they'll say certain things where, and even for my team, I say we can either be problem-oriented or solutions-oriented, just like you said, right? To where I can look for solutions like, hey guys, we have this problem, but let's not delve on this problem. Let's not just talk about what happened. Let's talk about what we can do to fix this, right? We're already at this problem right now. Let's talk about how we can fix it going forward. Because I always tell my team, guys, you can make mistakes, you can do that. I'm a solutions-oriented person. Okay, we make this mistake. How are we going to solve this? Give me 3 ways on how we can solve it. I always tell my team, give me 3 ways on, options that you have, and then give me your best recommendation at that point. Out of the 3 solutions you gave me, give me the best one, and let's just move forward from that. You know what I mean? You're right. I feel like a coach sometimes myself, man, when I talk to my clients.
No, no, you are a coach. No, you have to realize that, you
Yeah.
have to coach your clients. You still have to coach your people. That's an important part of leadership, you
Mm-hmm.
know. But you know what happens, just even what you do, and I hear this from, my clients and entrepreneurs, they want to just stick up, some Google ads
Mm-hmm.
and they want to wait and see what happens. Okay. What if nothing happens? What else do you have? Did you create some other options? They have no other options.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. There are times when something just doesn't work at that moment.
Mm-hmm.
So where do you go? Well, you didn't create any other options. And two, if you look at, doing SEO, you look at doing Google, you look at doing social media, you have to have more than that because marketing is not 2 or 3 things. It's a plethora of things. So you have to have more things in place for a real marketing strategy.
Mm-hmm.
But people don't have the dollars like, oh, I just spent all this money. Well, you know what? Spread it out. Spread
Mm-hmm.
it out. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. Spread it out. Know the times of months when to trim back some money in certain areas. I don't go heavy, let's say, on Google during certain times of the year when it's slow. Why would I spend more money on Google when it's slow?
Mm-hmm.
I spend money on something else. When the
Mm-hmm.
times get busy, let's ramp up the marketing even more. But that's all predetermined. That's the problem. It's not reactive. It's all predetermined.
Yep.
So if I say we're going to spend $100,000 a year on marketing, we're
Mm-hmm.
going to spend it. Don't start getting upset if it all didn't work. We said we're going to spend it. It's a budget. You budget it, and
Mm-hmm.
that's what happens is people don't understand a budget. When you go to call, when I used to do cold calling for sales, people would tell me it's not in the budget. But if they have a budget that's 100,000 or a million, they're going to spend it because
Mm-hmm.
it's already
Budget for
budgeted.
something, right?
Right, exactly. But do not think that you're going to do marketing and it's always going to work in your favor. That's not how marketing works.
Mm-hmm.
But people, again, they're conditioned like that. And Google was great. Listen, you look back 2 and 3 years ago, some people, that's all they did. And they got very dependent on that. And once you get very dependent on that one source, that's all you know. And I always say, again, you're a one-trick pony. You don't have any other strategies. You should have worked on it because you knew you were too dependent on it. And that's the same thing as what we talked about with staff, with people. You become overly dependent.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
And I'm glad you said that, Alonzo, because I have about three, because I know we're running close to time. I have about 3 or 4 more questions to you for
Yeah,
you.
that's right.
I know they're gonna be very important. But you hit on something that I always tell people is that even you've probably seen it for yourself, just during COVID timeframe, right? Because like you said, the people were just using Google like 3 or 4 years ago. And that was enough because you could throw anything at marketing during that time because people were home, they were injecting money in society. And I tell people that right now that just like you said, the branding, the marketing, all of that, the businesses that are true businesses, times like this in 2024 and beyond, or even a recession, they're going to be able to go through that with ease because they're just like, we're always going to do what we did. You know what I mean? And act on a plan that we had, just like you said. So, man, you are preaching right now. You are preaching. Like this is awesome.
I'm
So,
only going to tell people what it takes to be successful, what it takes to win.
mhm,
Business is a game, man. It's a
mhm,
game. There's the game where some people watch the game. There's people that play the game, and there's some people that don't even know the game's going on.
mhm,
We play the game, and we're
mhm,
not watching the game. We're playing the game.
mhm. So I have a 2-part question for you on this. So what marketing strategies have been you found most effective in growing your service, like your service-based business in the cleaning industry? And then also how has branding played a role into your marketing? Because I always tell people this, right? As I say that if you have a really good brand, then it makes you actually spend less on marketing. Like you could spend, and what I mean by that is this, is that I can have a really good brand, right? Like McDonald's, right?
Right.
McDonald's can just literally, they have a brand so they can put out any ad. They can put out a TikTok. They can put out something on Instagram. They can put out a TV commercial. And because people know their brand, it can just, that budget that they put for that video could have been like $2,000, right? But people know their brand. So it's actually cheaper for them to market. And so, and I know that's something that me and you've talked about in the past, and I know it's something that you believe in too as well. So can you tell me about building that brand and the marketing strategies also that you utilize? Because that's why I said it's a two-part question.
Referral is the best. Word of
Mhm.
mouth is just the best. That's,
Mhm.
that's what
I
people
agree.
just don't put enough into referrals and making sure that they're referable and making it easy again for their clients to refer them. They just don't make the process easy, and they can
Mhm.
really dominate on that front. The branding thing is this. 31 years of business, I'm going to tell people this. People get too much into this branding thing.
Mhm.
Branding takes time. It
Mhm.
took time to build Coca-Cola. It took time to build McDonald's. Those brands takes time. And
Mhm.
most of these people that's listening to your podcast, and I hate to take money out of people's pocket, I wouldn't be putting my time into all that. I
Mhm.
really wouldn't,
Mhm.
because it just takes too much time to build on branding. Marketing, yes, I would be finding a way for marketing. I would look at branding as long term. That's long term. And you constantly work on your brand, okay? Because when you look at things, let's even say people are a brand. The people brand is going to be bigger than any corporate brand soon. That's going to happen somewhere probably, in the next maybe 2 decades. You're going to see the personal brand emerge, and it's happening. Even the Kim Kardashian brand is
Mhm.
huge. It's huge. And you
Mhm.
look at Kim and you're like, man, Kim's old now. She's got kids now, but she's still dominating everybody else.
Mhm.
Still. So, but it took time. It takes time to build a brand. So I would tell people, work on marketing strategies. Marketing strategies, because you don't want to be a broke dude running around with a rap. That's bad. Or
Mhm.
you spend so much on the rap and you're not getting any leads, you're not getting any traction, but
Mhm.
you got a nice car that's wrapped out there. All it is, man, that's like makeup. That's what it is. It's makeup. You
Mhm.
know, you can have a brand and be a bad leader, have bad culture. You don't have none of that stuff in place, but you got on the makeup, your exterior looks all good, but man, you need some therapy, you
Mhm.
know, that's not cool, man. It's
Mhm.
not cool. So I don't tell my people to run out there. And when my people come to me with branding, they get a sour response,
Mhm.
because it's listen, some people think they need those things in place to make things happen. One of my clients was like, yeah, Alonzo, I'm gonna go get the one sales vehicle wrap where I can pull up and they can see my wrap vehicle. I'm like, man, that ain't gonna get you more sales. He
Mhm.
said, you don't think so? I said, unless you're just a horrible salesperson, you
Mhm.
know, but it's makeup. It's be able to work on your presentation, work on your sales process. I used to pull up to clients' homes. I didn't have any money back then. So my car, I didn't have hubcaps on, no tires.
Mhm.
And I didn't have no hubcaps on the tire. I didn't even have a rear view mirror to look out the rear view. And my
Mhm.
car would be dripping oil in the driveway. I have to go tell the client, hey, listen, I'm sorry, I had got oil in the driveway. We'll take care of it. But
Uh-huh.
that's how I pulled up. But guess what? I was walking away with sales left and right. My closing rate was up in the 90s,
Mhm.
the 90s, because that's where the time and effort was being put on working on the sales presentation.
Mhm.
If you want to really do something, make sure your sales presentation is dynamite. Okay. But this rap stuff, people do what they see other people do. Oh, they got a rap. Oh, everybody's doing their branding. So it's just copycats. Man, everybody's copycats. I'm
Mhm.
looking for originals. Sometimes in this industry, people want to be the next whoever guy.
Mhm.
You got to figure out how to be the man. Figure out how to be the man. You
Mhm.
know, and in order to be the man, you got to work on the man, and that's how you become the man. You know.
I'm
So
I'm very I'm very glad you said that because I know I said the McDonald's and you have all of that and it makes the marketing cheaper. But guess what? Even without you thinking about it, because you did, and you're absolutely right about that. When it just comes to the exterior of like, oh, I got the wrap truck, I have this. It's about building a brand. But see, the things that you're talking about are still technically, which I'm saying you're totally right. I'm not going against what you're saying, but I try to tell people is that marketing. That's why I said it's a two-part question, because the marketing stuff. when you're marketing, you're doing all of that, that's still kind of building because you're putting yourself out there. That sells. How you present yourself, it's still a branding kind of thing. So you hit it on the head. I tell guys, they say, well, how do I brand? Like I'm like, no, dude, you need a market. You need to do this, that, and the other, and give action to yourself, because then you'll have that. Because like you said, branding just takes time. Like it takes time. Like that's one of the biggest things I had to learn is I said, man, like I'm not gonna lie, Alonzo, I look at some of the companies that are ahead of us a little bit sometimes, and I say, we do better work than these guys. But I also realize that these guys have been in the game longer than us, right? So they just have equity in that. And so I just say, you know what? We'll be those guys in 3 to 4 years. You know what I mean? To where we have the equity in the game as well, right? We just have to keep enacting on our plan and doing what we're doing. So even I'm learning from this, Alonzo. I'm learning from
Listen,
talking.
when you look at the OGs in the game, you look at the OGs, and I always tell people like this is that one, we weren't getting all crazy, spending days and hours looking at logos. Just get a freaking logo and get going. Take action, man. I want to show you my logo. Well, if you suck, what does it matter if you got a great logo? It's like if you got a great uniform, right? You go out into the game, you got the best looking uniforms on, but you suck. You get your ass kicked day in and day out in those pretty uniforms.
Yeah.
Come on, man.
Yeah, most definitely. So, like I said, I got about 2 or 3 more questions, man, because I know you're a busy guy, Alonzo, if you don't mind. So, I'm going to go off of like not so much as like straight business stuff right now, but I want to talk about, just business owners that struggle with what they call work-life balance and your take on the aspect of work-life balance. And then also, I'm going to talk about just the importance of mentorship and coaching. And then just kind of looking at, my last question will be, your entrepreneurial journey and what you would do differently, or what you would tell yourself when you first started that now. But the first question is, what advice would you give business owners that say things like, oh, I struggle with work-life balance, or I don't have work-life balance? Because you hear differing opinions from people. You hear some people say there's no such thing as work-life balance. There's some people that say you need to have work-life balance in order to be more productive. What's your take on it, Alonzo? I'm actually eager to hear.
Work-life integration. Work-life integration. They're integrated together. And once you understand that, then you can let all that go. There are times when, let's say, I may have to go hard, for a couple of weeks where I'm putting in 10 hours, 12-hour days. Ideally, would I want to just put in 8? Of course. But the requirement to get done what I need to get done and the deals that I got to do are going to require me putting in that extra time. Does my family miss me during that time? Sure they do. Of course they do. What I have to understand is how do I communicate this is temporary? This is temporary. But I have to communicate it, okay? I don't just do it and not talk to them and let them know what the goal is. Hey, I need 2 weeks. 2 weeks, I'm going to be going hard in the paint. And so they understand that. They're receptive. We're at that point, we're working together through that process. The problem is when entrepreneurs, they don't even communicate that to their wives, to their children. So when that happens, then your children, your wife, they don't know when this thing's going to end, man. They don't. But if you can communicate that to them, it gives them clarity, and it also gives you a target. A target. Wrap it up. Get it done, man. Make it happen. You said 2 weeks. Let's go. Then put that time into first you, self-care. You, self-care. Because if you don't take care of yourself, you're not good for your family, your wife, your kids, whatever. So you need time for yourself. You need think time that you can reflect, think about what you're doing, think about all the things that have occurred in business and how you can actually put yourself in a position to take advantage of other opportunities. But you have to get time for yourself. And that's why I see entrepreneurs, they get so much into this thing. They're in this rat race. They start neglecting their health. They neglect their family, and they neglect anything with their spirituality, and they just go down the tubes. And you see people all of a sudden start resorting to drugs, alcohol, porn, and this is how they get themselves into trouble. But you have to understand the integration and to integrate those things together, because they're not separate. They're not separate of each other. Like for me, I'm a businessman, I'm a husband, and I'm a father. Okay. But they're all integrated.
I like that. I like that. So integration, basically saying, look, man, you're never gonna have work-life balance. Essentially, you just have to integrate it in your life and just be able to balance it out. And I honestly agree with that opinion as well, that there's never, especially if you're an entrepreneur, maybe if you're like doing a 9 to 5 job, you can have work-life balance. You know what I mean? In that sense, right? Because you're always set on, hey, this is how many hours I'm working. But when you're an entrepreneur, as you know more than anybody, Alonzo, like there's going to be time periods where you just have to say, hey,
Right.
in this next month or two, I just got to go hard. I gotta work these 12-hour days in this sense. And then there's other time periods where you just kind of say, hey, those 12 hours that I just put in that time,
Yeah.
like, you know, I'm kind of
Listen,
recharging right now.
guys that don't communicate that to their family, then your family feels disconnected.
Mm-hmm.
Disconnected. You want connection there. Remind them, reaffirm. Then when you go through that period, man, we go down to our house in Florida. We
Mm-hmm.
we go down to our home in Florida. We go there for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, whatever, and we just kick it, having a great old time, you
Mm-hmm.
know. But you understand how this happens. Daddy
Yeah.
went hard. Daddy went hard for that period.
Yeah.
Y'all enjoy this. We can enjoy this time. We can walk right on the beach, and we can live the life we're living.
Definitely, definitely. So how important is mentorship and coaching for business owners, and how should they go about finding the right mentor or coach?
For me, game changer. If you think about yourself, surrounding yourself with, like, let's say that dream team. One, get yourself a coach, get yourself a mentor, get yourself the right accountant, because that's your money, right? Get yourself right with the right accountant. Get yourself a good lawyer too. The lawyer's there because things happen with business. You're going to have to reach out to them and get some legal advice. The next thing, you go and get yourself a good banker. Get a good relationship with the banker. Get yourself a credit line for your business, to grow your business, for acquisitions. But the one thing is, when you go back and we say that other component is like a mentor or a coach, you got to have someone that you can trust. You can bounce things off of them. Okay. Now, for me, coaching with me and my clients, I'm not about transaction. I'm about transformation. Okay. So if you're coming to me and you're looking for, hey, give me some tips, give me some hacks, I'm not your coach. I'm not your coach, because I'm looking at you like you need to mature, and then you come to me. Okay. Because one, I got to work on you, and you're going to have to do some inner work, because your business is not going to outgrow you. Okay. Your business is basically going to plateau. So if I don't work on you, then maybe our business can only go to 500,000. Maybe it can only go to 1 million. But I know if I can work on you, and we can build the right skills and do that inner work, man, now I got a killer. Now I got a killer. Now I'm moving you into an elite entrepreneur. But you need someone, one, that's going to be honest to you and tell you the truth, and tell you honestly your weaknesses, your shortcomings, where your blind spots are at. See, guys don't want feedback, man. Entrepreneurs, they ain't looking for feedback. That's the problem right there. You need somebody every now and then to say, yo, you need to step it up. You need to understand that behavior right there is causing problems in your company. That mentality is what's holding you back. That's what's keeping the business back. You're the bottleneck. You're the bottleneck. That purchase that you made, that wasn't a good move. So entrepreneurs, man, you come from a place where you don't want people to tell you what to do. So those people are not coachable. So if you go to a coach, be coachable. The other thing, man, is leave your ego at the door. Leave your ego at the door. The other thing with coaching, you got to trust. Trust. Remember, we said at the beginning about the process. Trust in the process. But sometimes people are going to a coach and they're like, oh, I need to get my business to, like 2 million. Look, dude, you're not a $2 million entrepreneur. Okay, let's first address that. You're a $1 million or maybe a $500,000 entrepreneur at best. At best. Okay. Now, if you're serious about upgrading yourself, like Beyonce says, I can help upgrade you. So those are the things that's important for me, is that I want to look at the entrepreneur and get things dialed in for him. Then we can get him at a place where he can function as a mature entrepreneur. There's too many immature entrepreneurs out here. Really. That's why when you look at businesses lasting for 4 and 5 years, and you hear some of the stuff that you're hearing, the behaviors you see, they're just not mature enough. They need to really grow up They need the right mentorship. They need the right coach to help guide them. Coaches are important when you just think about people like Tiger Woods, right? Tiger Woods already knew how to play golf, man. What was he playing when he was like 2 years old or
Yeah.
something? So by
Yeah.
the time he got 16 and 17, Tiger could be like, man, nobody can tell me anything. You see how much I'm winning? And even when Tiger was winning all the majors, Serena was winning all the events and tournaments, they still had coaches. You know why? To give them advantage. I hear some guys out there like, yo, man, I made it to 2 mil, I made it to 3 mil without a coach. Well, maybe if you had a coach, you would have made it to 50 mil.
Yeah. Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, with the right coach. So to me, it's an important part of your A team. If you're looking for a way to 10x, get your A team together.
Mm-hmm. And I agree with you, Alonzo. I mean, for myself, I pay about $2,000 a month, man, on just coaching. You know
That's
what I
right.
mean?
Good for you.
Just for myself. So I already know, like, and obviously I have you on here because I know that you've done phenomenal things for people that work
Oh,
with me in coaching them. And I think the biggest thing that you said that it was hard for me to internalize at first, but I realized I was like, oh man, this is really the true benefit of coaching. And you just said it, but it's feedback. Because
right.
too many guys will say when it comes to coaching, like the tips, the tricks, or they just think like this guy's going to tell me what to train for, right? Or he's going to tell me what to do in that sense. And it's like, it's not necessarily a coach telling you what to do. It's about the feedback. Because if I go to the gym right now, Alonzo, and I just go work out I can go work out in the worst possible way. Yeah, I'm working out, but am I getting the feedback that I need in order to make my workouts more effective and efficient, right? And so
Yeah.
what I've learned is that coaching is not necessarily about do this, do that, it's more about the feedback that you get. It's the feedback that I've gotten that has, so if I'm doing something where I'm like, hey coach, like for this, I have my pricing structure this way with the clients, but we're having a bottleneck here. It's like I get the feedback like, hey, you might want to do things X, Y, and Z. Yes, they're telling me, but I'm getting that feedback from them. So now I'm like, okay, they're not just off the bat, hey, how should I price? Do this, do that, do this. And I'm just going about doing that. I'm getting feedback from there. So you hit it on the head. I really just had an epiphany. Like I remember a couple of weeks ago, I was thinking about, man, it's feedback that really is like, moving this thing. It's not necessarily training or
Right.
scaling up or anything like that. It's really just about the feedback you get. So my last question to you, Alonzo, well, it's not the last thing because the last thing I'm going to ask you is where people can find you, your URLs, your links, everything. But just looking back, and I guess I have a better question. Currently, right now, what do you do to make yourself a better entrepreneur? I should say that. What do you do, like not a hacker,
So,
but like, what do you do to make yourself a better entrepreneur?
the average person reads 2 books a year.
Uh-huh.
The CEO reads an average of 10 books a year. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm constantly reading. I'm constantly listening to podcasts as well. And constantly getting myself around other people that share the same type of beliefs I do, as into growing, improving yourself. That could be even in just health. That could be in mindset or family, or spirituality. It's getting yourself in the right circle with the right network of people. And that helps you. You learn a lot, man. You learn a lot from being around them. And a lot of learning is just taking some chances, man. Taking some chances, taking some risks. There's big things that I'm doing again in the real estate space that I haven't done in ever, never done. And I'm 54 and I'm doing it now. We're taking big chances, going big shots, and we're just like, hey, let's see what happens. Let's learn. We're not going to lose, but we're going to learn, and we're going to know what to do next time if it doesn't go as planned.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you for that. So I know, look, you always just over provide, and you just always, man, just with all the knowledge that you have. And so I really appreciate you being here and just sharing all of that knowledge with us, right? I really do. So if people wanted to hear more about you, if people are like, man, who is this Alonzo guy? If this is the first time that they've actually heard about you, where can people find you at?
Well, you can find me at Alonzo Adams Coaching.
Mm-hmm.
Right there. Go to the website, can find out about me there. I'm on Twitter. Find me on Twitter. I'm on Instagram. I'm on Facebook. Reach out to me, friend me. I'm even happy to answer questions for people, even if they think of questions that they should have asked. How do you again scale a company? How do you create better systems and processes? How do you build a team, a culture? Reach out to me on that. How do I get? How do I actually create other streams of income? Since I've done it, that was a big thing, creating other streams of income. Reach out to me because I really believe in one, creating your own path, setting yourself up to be able to fulfill your own destiny because you are in control of your destiny.
Mm-hmm. Definitely, definitely. Well, guys, I'm gonna have all. I know Alonzo's gonna make sure that he sends me all those links, or I'm gonna have my team look up those links, regardless of the fact, right? And we're gonna provide them so that you guys can find him wherever he may be at that he just mentioned right now, right? His website, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, all of those different platform and places. But once again, Alonzo, thank you so much for the time that you were able to.
Thanks for inviting me too. This was fun.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. And so I know you guys got knowledge from this, but if you guys are watching on YouTube, if you guys are listening on Apple, Spotify, whatever it may be, leave your questions, comments, whatever you may have below. But thank you guys for listening. Thank you once again, Alonzo, and we will see you guys in the next one.